We live in a society which has conditioned us into living so uptight, being this fake version, not expressing our true self, and always being so uptight and scared to express ourselves because we have the fear of judgment. So it is so easy for me to sit here and say, be more carefree. Stop being so uptight, be more carefree. But there are a lot of underlying issues that actually contribute you being so uptight. Just because you force yourself to be carefree, you'll be carefree for a minute or two, or just for that moment. But that will not stick on forever. It is not going to stick on when you actually need it. When you actually need to be carefree, you're unable to be carefree because there's so much stuff that is backed up, that has compounded your behavior, your mind, your body, and your soul to accustom yourself into behaving in this such uptight manner. The reason is because, let me take you back to my childhood. I was in first grade, and this teacher told the class to read the poem. Anybody who wants to read the poem that we did yesterday? And I raised up my hand. I was like, I'll do it. I was completely confident. I was this top of the class, extroverted kid. I put my hand up, and I opened the book and I read. And then she called me an idiot. That's the wrong poem. We didn't do that yesterday. And at that moment, that wasn't a big thing, but entire class started laughing at me. And I didn't feel that dip in my confidence. At that moment, my confidence went down a little bit. But this teacher used to re-mention that moment every single day. And this continued for weeks, for an entire term, every single morning. At that period, at that class, she used to tell, don't be like that guy. And she called my name. And I was so, irritated by this. Like, why? Why do you keep reminding me of that? I don't do that mistake anymore. Why do you keep reminding me of that? And one day I asked her, like, why do you keep saying that? And then she scolded me even more. She went more aggressive on me. I need to remind you of all the mistakes that you made. And it was very harsh. In a way, she meant it in a good way because she wanted to see me improve. But even when I was not committing those mistakes, even when I was not reading out the wrong poem in the class, she kind of pinpointed that situation and let me know of it. Now, situations like these would have also happened in your life. And these are called first grade trauma. All right, when you experience something on your own, it is your experience. This is first grade trauma. And then there's second grade trauma. What I mean by second grade trauma is when you don't experience it yourself, but you see another person experience it at your presence. Now, that incident happened to me, but the one who was more scared was my friend sitting right beside me. He was more traumatized by that incident than myself. It is because we see the incident in our own eyes. Because especially when you look at siblings, right? When you're growing up with siblings, when your parents scold your sibling, you are more afraid. And you can see several YouTube videos and Instagram videos where parents try this experiment, when psychologists have tried this experiment, and this just showed up in my feed 2 weeks ago, and it got me thinking, because parents scold one sibling, they're mean, and raise their voice on one sibling. The other sibling, you can see more signs of fear in the other sibling's face. And they even did this in a classroom. They raised their voice and was aggressive to one kid. They shouted at one kid. The kid right around that kid was more in fear. And especially in my, you can see in your own lives, in my life, when I'm with people my age, and the teacher was shouting at me, for my mistakes, from my, mishaps, the friends around me were more scared because you have that fear of uncertainty. And when you're at that moment, the teacher is scolding the guy sitting next to you or the girl sitting next to you. When you are facing that scolding, when you are facing that situation, you're aware that you're in that experience. You're being in that moment and you know that you're the target. But when you're seeing somebody else experience that situation, you have the fear, like, if that person is experiencing this, what would I experience? What would happen to me? And then this is called second grade trauma. It's like you have not experienced it, but you have witnessed some situation. And this also contributes and compounds in you being so uptight. And then there's third grade trauma. Third grade trauma is some guy, some person comes to you and tells, Michael did this, or so and so person did this. You don't want to end up like Michael. So listen to me. Michael was so carefree, right? Michael was living the life, and then this happened to Michael. Do you want to end up like Michael? Do you want to end up like Michelle? Is that what you want in your life? Like, you have no awareness of what situation that is. So you don't know the complete nitty-gritty details. You did not experience it, or neither did you witness that situation. But somebody comes to you and tells you that story, telling that they did similar things to you and they ended up bad, in a bad way. Do you want to end up like them? This kind of prevents you from following your path, from following your goals, and also being carefree in any given moment. Now, each of these situations would happen in different contexts and would happen in different flavors for each one of you that is watching. Now, the thing is, all of this contribute, and this piles up and becomes this trauma. And some person, and then you have this fear of some person coming in and judging you for being your true self. And that is why it is so hard for you to be carefree. And why I mention this is because recently I went to this beautiful spot, all right? It's a small street. You enter this and you find this beautiful painting of this building. And I was just standing there observing this. And there was this old lady standing, I think, 5 to 10 feet from me. And she was so self-conscious to pick up her camera and shoot. And this is not some professional camera. It's like her old cell phone. She had to turn into landscape mode, and she was looking left and right because nobody there picked up the camera and shot the location. And eventually there's just 3-4 people around, including me, because it was raining so heavily. And she was so self-conscious, just looking left and right. And we made this eye contact. And at that moment, I realized that I used to be the same way. I was so scared to pick up my camera and shoot in public because I was so scared of judgment, especially when no one was doing it, when everybody was just staying there and observing art or observing the nature. I was so scared of taking my camera and shooting the surroundings. So what I did, I understood that. I took out my camera and I shot this amazing view. And I did not put my phone down for, I think, 5 to 10 seconds, like even after shooting it. And then I saw her, taking up her phone and recording herself with that background. Like, me taking out my camera and shooting that view gave her assurance that it is okay to capture this moment in your cell phone. And it was so beautiful. Like, I realized this, and so many things stirred up in my memories. And my younger self, I used to be so scared of other people. I was so scared to be the first one to do something. If I go into a public situation and if I don't see anybody else, shooting something, there'll be sunsets, there'll be this beautiful building. I'll find something aesthetically pleasing, and I would not see anybody take out their phone and capture the picture. I would be so scared to take out my phone and do that because I was afraid what will other people think. I was afraid, like, if I'll be judged, if I'll be called an idiot, even though I don't even know these people, right? I'm in this new place. I don't even know these people. I was so scared to take out my phone and capture a moment. And when I saw her, I understood, like, okay, I just saw my younger self, and me picking up my phone and shooting and staying there with my phone, it gave her kind of confidence, like, it is okay to do this. Now, this made me realize, like, how it's so hard to be so carefree, be in the flow, and express ourselves because we are in this constant fear of judgment And this is due to all the trauma that we have endured. Like, we have experienced that personally, or we have seen and witnessed somebody else experience some pathetic situation where we had no control of. And third, we heard somebody tell something about someone else who has experienced some trauma. And all of this, you know, vibrates at the level of fear. And if you see babies, if you see children, right, they are so carefree. They do what they want and they really don't care. And they are actually vibrating at this higher frequency. That is why these babies are so intuitive. Their gut feeling is so strong that they can sense some disturbance in the force. And yes, I'm quoting Star Wars here. They can sense some disturbance. That's why they can sense haunted beings. You hear these facts and stories that babies can actually see ghosts and other souls. It's because when you are vibrating in this higher frequency, your intuition kind of opens up, and all this higher orbits or higher chakras. And now I'm getting very esoteric here. If you open up all these higher chakras, and that happens only when you're vibrating at this higher frequency, it opens up everything, and you kind of see or sense something wrong in your surroundings before it actually goes wrong. You call this gut feeling intuition. And then you kind of also pick vibrations. You can sense people, you can sense energies. And this is very prevalent in babies. Now, as the kid is growing up, society conditions the baby. Like the teacher says, you have to behave in a certain way to be liked. Your parents say some versions, your parents scold you for being a true self. And it's like they're shaping you to fit inside the society. And by the time you become 18, by the time you become a full-grown adult, it's so hard for you to be so carefree. Like, you can force that lightheartedness or being carefree in any social situation, but that is not a permanent fix. It is just temporary. And you're trying so hard, it's like you're pushing against the wave. And sometimes you get good at it, all right? You can switch from being so uptight to carefree at any given moment, but again, you have to work on it. So instead of, switching from uptight to carefree, why don't you just let it flow? Be natural. Go back to being as a kid. And I don't mean go back to being silly and doing all the silly stuff. What I mean is go back to being that true self, a true higher self. Go back to the higher vibration. Go back to the childlike wonder where it was so effortless. You can be uptight. You can be carefree anytime you want. You don't even have to think about switching. You don't even have to think about, okay, I should be carefree now. Okay, I should be uptight now. When a situation calls, it naturally flows. It should be so effortless. And this can happen only if you let go of all the past traumatic events and you start vibrating at this higher frequency. And you can also try, forcing yourself to be carefree initially, but to make it more natural. If you feel like dancing, when you have music on, just do it. When you're outside in public places, and you feel like laughing, you'll be on a phone call. Don't be so afraid to laugh. You'll be so afraid to talk, even to your loved ones, because you're so afraid that what if people might hear what I'm talking, what I'm saying, and what if they judge me? It's okay. Just get over it, because even they have the same fear. Even when they get on phone calls with their loved ones, even they're scared of what other people might think, but what they're saying on the phone. So realize it is universal. Everybody feels the same way. And then society keeps telling, no, they'll judge you if you start doing this. And is society just pressuring itself and putting itself back into the pit, or burning itself into flames? So understand, everybody is going on the same boat. When you get this realization, when you realize that we are all human beings experiencing this amazing journey called life, breaking free from all this childhood trauma, breaking free from all the barriers, your cage, will be so much more easier. And it'll be so much more easier for you to let go, because when you start being so carefree, when you start learning how to express yourself and being so carefree and not being so uptight, it'll be so much more easier for you to let go of all the past traumatic events. And being so uptight affects us not only in our personal relationships. I mean, you can come back home from a busy day, it'll be hard for you to even communicate with your loved ones or have any stable relationships, because you'll be so uptight. Even in relationships, you'll be uptight. That energy just transfers here. You carry forward that uptight energy into your relationship. If you're so uptight and if you're so, you know, in your head, thinking about what other people may think, you will still be thinking about what your loved ones are thinking about you. Even though they love you irrespective of all your flaws, you'll still be thinking, oh my God, are they judging me? And this backward rationalizes, and you start manifesting that. And then they actually judge you. So break free from this. Realize that this is very common. Everybody else experiences this. And then it'll be much more easier for you to accept it. Once you accept it, do all the inner work, let go of it, and then watch yourself transform, and it'll be so much more easier for you to not think about even shifting from being uptight to carefree, and then you achieve this true sense of freedom and thrive in life.